A few days ago, during my sleep, I got an idea. What if I hosted my own server? And how in the world the process of hosting a server actually works? And believe me, it was not as easy as I thought it would be. But before I even get started, what exactly is a server? Basically, a server is a computer that provides, or in other words, serves information to other computers on a computer network, which we call clients. A server can serve pretty much anything. It could be a web server that delivers web pages over the internet, a file server that provides files and folders, or even a game server that lets us play multiplayer games, among other things. So, to host a server, we need some kind of a computer. And according to Wikipedia, a computer is a machine that can be programmed to automatically carry out sequences of arithmetic and logical operations. This means the term computer isn't limited to just PCs or laptops. Phones, calculators, and even game consoles are all considered computers. So I decided to go with Android to host my server. I mean, have you ever heard of Doom? People play it on PCs, mobile phones, task managers, notepads, Excel, and even calculators and potatoes. So, why shouldn't I try hosting my server on Android? It uses much less power compared to any PC or laptop, and it takes much less space in my room. And that's how my journey of hosting a server on my mobile began. But before I even got started, I ran into my first problem. You see, most servers are built to run on Linux, and I definitely didn't want to create my own server app in Android Studio just to host a server. So, should I drop my idea? No way. You see, Android is based on Linux kernel, and with a quick search, I found out this app called Termux, which allows me to access a Linux environment right on my mobile. Now, the next step was deciding which server I wanted to host. After some thought, I chose one of my all time favorite games, Terraria. Next, I decided to use this 7-year-old device of mine for this experiment. It's running Android 5.0, which Termux supports. Kind of. I installed the app from F-Droid, but the first thing I encountered was an error. I guess this ride won't be as smooth as I thought. After a few retries, I uninstalled the app and downloaded it directly from their GitHub page. This time the app worked. I updated the packages and tried installing the Piro distro package, which helps you to install Debian, something I'm a little familiar with, but it couldn't locate the package on my phone. So I tried searching for the Piro distro package and I got an error saying the signatures were invalid and the repositories were not signed. Maybe I installed the debug build from GitHub, which is why I am getting the error. So I went back to the F-Droid and installed the app again from there. This time I didn't get the bootstrap error. Wait, what? I guess as a developer, I shouldn't be surprised by this kind of thing. But even after that, I still couldn't install the period distro package. After a few hours of searching, I found out that the period distro is only available for Android 7 and above. This is my other 5-year-old phone, which runs Android 9 and is in much worse shape than the previous one. I also installed the Cinebench 6 to test the CPU performance on this phone. Now I installed the Termux app on this phone, and this time there were no errors during the bootstrap. I also managed to easily install the Piro distro package here. The next steps were straightforward. I installed the Debian distro using Piro, logged into my Debian environment, and then updated the packages using the apt. Next, I installed the wget and unzip packages in my Debian distro. To download the Terraria server, I went to the official Terraria website. However, when I tried to visit their site, I realized I couldn't copy the download link directly. You can't just copy the link like with other websites here. So, what I did was try to find the download link in the HTML using the inspect option, but there was no link to be found. So, I switched to the network tab to check where the file was being downloaded from, and there it was, the download link. Now that I had the link, nothing could stop me from hosting the Terraria server and playing with my friends. I downloaded the Terraria server using the wget command, unzipped the file, gave it execute permissions, and my terminal couldn't see the file. I was so close to hosting the Terraria server. After some debugging and few internet searches, I found out that I also realized that my Linux distribution is set to ARC64 by default. But I was trying to use an x86-64 file, so I forced install the x86-64 version of the distro. However, this made my terminal so slow that I couldn't even install a single package with apt properly. Now completely stuck, I don't even know what to do. So I decided to call it a day and went for sleep. The next day, with a fresh mind, I switched from hosting a vanilla Terraria server to the Tshock server for Terraria. When I visited the download section, I found out they offer different downloads for different operating system and CPU architectures. And they had the ARM64 version of the server, which is exactly what I needed. So I cleared the Termux app data, reinstalled the default Debian distro, and downloaded the Tshock server. When running the Tshock installer, I encountered an error, but a quick Google search helped me fix it easily. Now that the server is running, the only thing I need is my local IP address, which can be easily found using the hostname command. I can use the ping command to check if the device is actually accessible on my network. From there, it's simple. I go to the multiplayer section in Terraria, select the character I want to use, enter the local IP address along with the port number of my server. Now, all I need is a friend to play with. Hmm. So my friend also has entered the same local IP address and port number to join the server, and as you can see, my friend has actually joined the server. At this point, I should be happy. I hosted the server, but there was something missing, something that was bothering me, and I still don't know how to solve that problem. So I called up my friend who knows much more about networking than I do. Hi Sinesh, how are you? Actually, I need some help.
Tunneling,
What?
tunneling.
Uh, okay. So now we need some kind of tunneling. Basically, in computer networks, a tunneling protocol is a communication protocol that allows data to move from one network to another. So I found out that ngrok is really popular for this kind of thing. I went to the download section and copied the command from there and set up the old token for ngrok. Now, when I ran the last command, they wanted me to add a debit or credit card to use the TCP endpoints, which they use to combat abuse and make internet a safe place. I guess I should read the docs more carefully next time. But hey, maybe I can use ngrok to host HTTP servers in future. Maybe. While looking for alternatives, I found a GitHub repository called Awesome Tunneling. Instead of reading the docs for each option, I just looked for a word TCP in the page. Zero looked promising, but after scrolling down, I found something even better, Play.gg. This was designed specifically for game servers. So I copied the installation code for Debian from their download section. After running into some errors, I went back to the download section and grabbed the ARC64 version of the program. I gave the program execute permission, ran it, and it gave me a link to add the tunnel. When adding the tunnel, they already had an option for the Terraria server. If it hadn't been there, I would have to manually enter the port number my server was hosted on. A few seconds later, the server was created. Now, after switching my Wi Fi, my PC was no longer connected to the local network of the server and could only connect to it through the public network using that same tunnel. In Terraria, I added the server and port number and it was able to connect to my server hosted on my mobile. And here you can see the logs on my mobile. Now, the possibilities are endless. You can host a web server to run a website, create a file server to share files between PCs, set up a database server like SQL, or even host game servers for different games. And if you have a static IP address, you can have a permanent server at the same location. The possibilities are truly limitless. Maybe even in the future, we will even have a built in Linux environment on the Android itself. So it's your turn to go and experiment with all these possibilities. And as for me, I'll go and play some games with myself. Wee! Wee!